Congratulations. You who are on a fixed income, you are honored members of God's family. Congratulations, you who are in 12-step programs. You will inherit the gift of one day at a time. Congratulations, you who are caregivers for sick relatives and friends. The twin lights of hope and love shine through you. Congratulations, you who suffer from mental illness. You are human treasures who live the mystery of multiple realities. God rocks you in her arms and comforts you in every moment. And talks to you in such voices as these. According to the hundreds of Jesus Seminar scholars who've researched every possible specialty, from text to archaeology, anthropology to ancient history, language to cultural context, Jesus, the real Jesus, loved to say shocking things. No. He wasn't nice. What do you mean Jesus was nice? He wasn't nice, he was shocking. And the shocking things he liked to say made people look directly at their assumptions, reevaluate their values, and hopefully their behavior. The real Jesus, so these scholars say, would probably not have gone around saying, "Blessed and supremely happy are the meek and merciful." Probably wouldn't have said that. It was already assumed that God blessed and rewarded those who were virtuous, humble, righteous, God-fearing. Congratulations was something said to the successful merchant, the well-married bride, the wealthy family inheriting more land and cattle. What was also assumed was that God punished those who were evil or spiritually deficient by making them suffer disease or poverty, or making them fall down in public places and embarrass themselves, right, Jean? Such conditions, sorry, I just had to throw that in. Such conditions were symptoms of a person's lack of virtue, deserved and God sent. Best not to take note of them at all. Why would you say congratulations? So, out of the 8 or 9 Beatitudes listed in Matthew, many of them transformed into descriptions of spiritual or virtuous gifts and behaviors. The scholars believe Jesus said maybe 3 or 4 of them. Probably not all at once. Probably randomly as the situation came up. And they were probably short and to the point, and just plain weird to hear in the context set. These are what they think he said. Congratulations, you poor, for heaven's domain is yours. Congratulations, you who weep, you will laugh. Congratulations, you hungry, you will have a feast. Now that last one in the Gospel of Thomas puts it this way. Congratulations to those who go hungry, so the stomach of the one in want may be filled. Now this is something different, doesn't it? Those who go hungry so that the stomach of the one in want can go filled. Now that last one congratulates the person who gives up their own meal so another more needy person might eat. This is perhaps a later form of the saying, or it was less a saying and more of a recognition of those who have already had a change of heart. Like peaceful forms of civil disobedience and outrageous generosity, it may have been something he would have encouraged, along with serving a communal meal for all, not just little pieces of bread dipped in grape juice, but a whole meal, a feast, regardless of financial status, whenever the beloved community gathered. There was a feast. What is being acknowledged in the approved list of Jesus jargon is that people who are suffering right now, right here, are given special status by God, who would do anything to make that suffering stop. Those who suffer now will live in God's palace, eat the divine banquet, and laugh out of complete and utter joy, but God can only arrange that in God's own domain or kingdom or beloved community. Right? And what Jesus was saying was that God's domain, beloved community, or the reality of it, is here and now, at any table, where all are welcome and social status has no bearing. So, we're doing the hospitality for God, so that the poor and suffering don't have to wait so long. Congratulations, you warriors who have suffered physical and moral injuries and are on the brink of suicide. For here you have found friends, listening ears, peace, safety, and healing. Congratulations, you who clean toilets and clear food scraps from our tables. You will be served by God's servants and have immediate legal status, full citizenship in God's domain. And in the interim, you have an army of social activists working on your behalf for immigration reform and livable wages for service workers. Do you have anybody else you would like to congratulate? Anybody comes to mind?
Congratulate those who are sick.
Those who are sick.
Or ill.
Or ill. Why?
Because they will be better.
They'll get better. Either on this side of the divide or the other, right? And there are incredible healthcare workers working on their behalf. And researchers working for medicine. Right? Doing it for God. Who else? Anybody else you want to congratulate? Donna?
Women who have to give up their babies on the doorstep of a church or a police station for various reasons.
Congratulations to those women who have to give up their children and leave them somewhere because
they don't feel they can handle, deal, love, support, whatever,
And they should be congratulated because there are loving families who will receive those babies and do what they can't.
Exactly.
They feel they can't do.
Love for the baby.
And they'll be reunited someday on this side or the other of that divide. Congratulations, you who were born into a body with the opposite gender. For you are the embodiment of the divine and have so much to teach the rest of us. Why are Christians so scared of transgender folks? Embodiment. We're people of the embodiment. And those folks have much to teach us, and not to mention a whole host of serious questions to ask God when they get to the other side. No? Congratulations, you who weep for those killed in mass shootings. In schools, theaters, malls, on the street, at work, at home, etc., etc. An entire network of gun control advocates has been galvanized to transform your tears into legislation and to dismantle the NRA, even if it has to be done one gun at a time. I'm always fighting with Peter over getting him guns that look like guns. I don't want you to get shot. You will never have a gun that looks like a gun. So we get him space water guns. Things that are purple and orange. Congratulations, you whose island homes are now underwater due to climate change. You are now God's messengers that the end times are truly upon us. And it is up to us to listen to you, to give you a new nation above water from which to shout your word and make the sacrifices necessary to save planet Earth. I just found out this week that autism used to afflict 1 in 10,000. And in the last few decades, it has grown to 1 in 48 children. 1 in 48. And our government has yet to declare it an epidemic. If 100 people get bird flu, it's an epidemic. 1 in 48 kids. My son, who's on the lower end of the spectrum, is not alone in his struggle to get his brain and his body and both sides of his body to work together in a coordinated so-called normal way. You and I just learned to walk and go up and down stairs. It took him until he was 3 to figure out how to put one foot after another on those steps, right? Without falling down. He's a visible sign of an invisible environmental disaster that's tearing us apart one neuron at a time. And our nation would rather argue about tax breaks for the rich than, what would they rather do? Than our slow death. Tax breaks for the rich or our slow death as a species from complicated chemical transmogrifications in our food and air supply. As Peter works harder and harder to make sense of what his senses are trying to communicate, I watch my mother's neurons disintegrate from Alzheimer's, my father's neurons disintegrate from Parkinson's, and my own neurons die a screaming death from stress and my addiction to sugar! Not to mention coffee! I need more coffee! Neurons are dying here. As my father and I walked our training route for Team Parkinson's on Thursday. We're going to walk in the LA Marathon on Saturday for Team Parkinson's. I ruminated out loud about the weirdness of having a disease named for you. Alzheimer's? Parkinson's? Dad responded, yeah, like pneumonia. Good, you got it. Okay. We spent several minutes busting up and coming up with other diseases named for people like cystic fibrosis and melanoma and dementia and so on. Who would name their child dementia? I would. It is my hope that humor is the last thing to go when our neurology terminates. Congratulations, you who suffer neurological disintegration, for you have learned to laugh in the face of death, and you lead us to the pearly gates by the scenic route. May we discover what the hell is going on before all our brains are too disassembled to figure it out. So Jesus, when he threw out his shockingly congratulatory statements, he was trying to shake people into awareness without brain killing them. He was stripping away blinders and assumptions, hoping to change attitudes and thereby change behaviors. We often use the word attitude when we're aiming for a behavioral shift. Sample conversation from our home. Peter, I think you need an attitude change. And he'll say back to me, Mama, I think you need an attitude change. This use of the word is not random. Excuse me, we usually use attitude adjustment, but here. Attitude, a settled way of thinking or feeling, about someone or something. Typically, one that is reflected in a person's behavior. Thinking or feeling reflected in a person's behavior. Attitude, a position of the body proper to or implying an action or mental state. You can tell what I think about you by the way I position my body, right? I don't know you well enough to do that, but anyway, so, okay. Jesus was aiming for a social attitude adjustment about who was okay and who wasn't. Who was socially acceptable and who wasn't. Who was blessed by God and who wasn't. Hey, you pompous religious legalists, you think you're all that? Well, think again. This leper here is to be congratulated. He is the most beloved of God. He is the heartbeat of the beloved community. These poverty-stricken widows who can't afford a kosher kitchen and keep your purity laws, they are the luckiest of women and will have 100 kosher kitchens if they want them in God's domain. And in the meantime, I know some people with big houses who will share their kosher kitchens with anyone who wants to use them. Most of the early Christian communities met in big houses, somebody's living room. And believe it or not, we're working on these same attitude adjustments in the year 2014, right? Same ones. It's essential that we get these adjustments in our elected officials because our common good is deeply affected by their behavior and attitudes. Now, this is an aside, but I think it has something to do with this. I heard a Republican on NPR talking about the inaction figure in the White House. Play on action figure, get it? Inaction figure in the White House. Which is a great term, because I can use that on Congress every time I want. Those inaction figures in Congress. An attitude adjustment is called for in the halls of government, wherever they are. It is harder to point the finger at ourselves and strip off our own blinders. But my 7-year-old son helps me with that every day because he has no clue how not to be blunt. He doesn't know how to avoid saying shocking things that are absolutely true in one way or another. Mama, you're gonna die. You're right. Hopefully before you do. But that's not guaranteed. Especially if you keep saying things like that to me. Congratulations, you liberals who are clueless about your own faults and misperceptions. You will have your eyes opened by your own children. And you will laugh at your own limitations, and you will add compassion for conservatives to your social activist toolkit. And quit making snarky comments on social media, except maybe the funny ones like inaction figures in Congress. Congratulations, you who are works in progress, for you are human beings made in the image of God. Nothing snarky about that.